when you are seeing these effects of Canada printing, spending, not having any investment coming into the country, blocking natural resources, east-west divide, all that has an effect on Canadian individual lives.
But when money is the leading driver to bad decisions consistently over time, can't afford this, can't afford that, the wealth of the country should be of the highest importance of all of our MPs, all of our premiers,
the number one factor.
Yes, the number one
is
factor.
the economic ability to thrive and to grow. Are we producing more than we're outputting? All Canadian families, we are on the Titanic. The iceberg hasn't hit yet, so we're not sinking. If we don't shift course, that iceberg is coming for us.
I'm not planning on leaving. I'm fighting. We want to make this country incredibly great.
We begin to see that it really isn't about diversity. It is about punishing the people who perform beyond the mean.
For people who don't care, where do you see Canada going?
Oh, it's catastrophic. It is that bad.
What is the carbon tax doing to lower carbon emissions?
Exactly.
I love this country. I was born in this country. I believe in what this country stands for. I believe in its people. I believe as a place opportunity for all to come and live, but the path that we're on is not working. And we are not going to be what we're supposed to be if we continue along this path.
Yeah. Citizens, welcome back.
Happy summer, everybody.
Indeed. Yeah, I know both of our skin is slowly getting darker.
Looking good on camera.
Yeah.
Working on those tans.
Wives were complaining we were looking pasty, so we've got to get some tans, some color.
Go out and fry a couple days and the rest is history.
Yeah, I'm a little bit sore still in some spots.
How's everybody doing? Hope you guys are well. Welcome to the show. Did you hear today about the 6 bomb threats at Canadian airports across Canada?
I did not hear 1 ounce about that until right now.
Don't know what's going on still, but I remembered I saw it earlier today, and I just got an alert saying ground operations resume
6?
Following bomb threats at 6 Canadian airports, including Calgary, Winnipeg, Ottawa, a couple others.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I was going to throw to our previous video with Bruce, but that I feel like we have to.
It's just there's not much to go off of it. There was.
That's crazy.
I don't even know what to say because I don't know much about it. I don't think there has been much information released except there was 6 bomb threats at different Canadian airports.
Multiple NAV Canada facilities were targeted by bomb threats during early Thursday morning, including Thursday morning. That's today. I was like, today's not Thursday. I'm like, yeah. Including control towers and ATC centers linked in airports. Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton, Winnipeg, Montreal, and Ottawa. As a precaution, the control towers over Vancouver were fully evacuated. Ground stops were briefly implemented in Ottawa and Montreal, halting operations in Edmonton, Winnipeg, and Calgary were disrupted during the security sweep. Crazy. Current status, NAV Canada and Transport Canada confirmed services have returned to normal, though travelers are advised to check with airlines for any lingering delays. Security remains heightened. Scope and scale, crazy.
Anyways, not much to go about, but I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah, wow.
Where do we want to go today? We are in the middle of Calgary Stampede.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's actually quite a bit going on. Yeah, but yeah, Calgary Stampede, fake
That's
Cowboys.
happening in our city, wherever you guys are at.
I honestly wanted to kind of quickly touch a little bit about our previous episode with Bruce Party. If you guys haven't seen it, watch it. I like. There's a lot of interactions, a lot of comments. There's a lot of people going, "Thank you for this. We needed this. This is a great conversation." And then there's also some like hateful comments towards us, which I always gravitate towards. There's one. I'm just gonna read it the way it is. It is what it is. It says, "Cross your legs" means no.
He's got a problem with how we're sitting.
with this, which I guess what he means is this.
I sit like that.
Which this is uncomfortable. This is hard, but like this.
It's not that
this
bad.
Is how most of us. This is most of us sit, and this is generally how we sit. Anyway,
thank you for the comments.
Thank you for the hate. I'm gonna like it. I'm liking the comment. There you go. I just liked it. But lots of comments, lots of interactions. Bruce, like I actually re-listened to it this morning.
Yeah.
Our whole conversation, and it's even though we did the conversation, I still got lots out of it because Bruce is such a wealth of knowledge. There's so much there, and I like that we actually covered a lot to do with socialism and understanding its role in what parts and how the free market enterprise and like it's good. It's a good show.
Well, the thing I like talking with him about is we can go deeper and you can go beyond.
Yeah.
You can get to some really philosophical ideas.
Yeah.
What makes us what has contributed to how we think, what is helping and not helping Canadians move forward. A lot of times we just get surface things and people don't actually ask the question, why do I believe what I believe?
Yep.
Or do you even know what you believe? And we were talking in the fact of, is Canada the Canada you think it is?
Yeah.
Or have you just been assuming? Have you maybe not been aware? Do we know what's going on? And actually taking a step back to analyze these things. We're talking about loyalties as well, right? To country, to family. There's a lot of great topics we're able to dive into. But just the way that his brain works, it's great to be able to get his thoughts and opinions on it too. So, because you and I asked a lot of questions.
Yeah, we did.
And we're working through things, just as probably everybody does at some points. But he brings some very great value to it.
We need clarity on this, and I think we're going to continue to go down this road of Alberta over coming weeks and experts and people, because this is a very pivotal moment for all of Canada, regardless of if you're from Alberta or not. We need to understand what this means, what the implications are, how it'll affect taxes, healthcare, all sorts of stuff. So we're going to keep going down that road. But
did you have a clip
check out
on the
that
show?
video. Huh?
Did you have a clip that you wanted to show or no?
From the video?
Yeah.
No. I was going through a few comments. Some of them are just so funny. But generally, a lot of people just saying like separate. Like that's the general consensus on the comments. Canada needs change. Canada needs this. My parents, grandparents, and I don't know what I'm about to read, so I'm just gonna be careful. Greats are buried in Ontario. I was born in out east, military family. I served making this, and my family has chosen Alberta long ago for its being our second place to live. I left for a while. Anyway,
lots of comments coming through.
Lots of people coming through. 100% for radical change. We need independence.
The interesting thing is, though, is I do feel this conversation is not a national conversation, even though there's a lot of growing movement in Alberta and maybe outside of Alberta. When you have people a lot more in the East maybe aren't as aware, or I think in the business of life, we also need to take time to analyze and say, what is life actually like in the country? Is our country progressing forward? Has it been stalled out, or are we regressing? Like, what is happening, and what are the actual measurables? Not just opinions and not just emotions, because that, unfortunately, when you get these kind of conversations, you get a lot of people who are just emotional and reactionary, and they like to exaggerate and that kind of stuff. Like, let's actually be factual, use measurables, use data, use our brains, not just be over emotional about it and just, we got our opinions, but can you back that with something that's verifiable? And we're trying to explore that and look at that. Does Alberta have a good deal? Is Canada functioning the way that it should be functioning, as a separation of powers and as a federation that we are, right?
For sure.
Or confederation that we are. We have to analyze that.
And the thing about when a country gets too expensive to live in, there's so much, there's endless implications to that. And when you like, I can't remember all the books that I read these things in. So sorry, I wish I could cite some of these books. But often when poverty increases, everything cascades. It's mental health, it's suicide rates, it's depression, it's an anxiety, it's
there's a number for
wild. It's wild. Birth rate goes down. It decimates the country, like slowly but surely, and it continues to go down that road. And then even when you look at like, when our parents were growing up, one income could support the home. And so you like, regardless of what people believe about traditional families styles, I do believe that when one parent stays home, you're going to have a more protected family culture, because you have the values of the mom or father, whoever goes to work, who cares which one goes. You have a parent raising the children at home and pouring into the children in those young years. But it's almost impossible nowadays. Like, if not impossible, there is almost no way to afford to live in this country with the food and the cost and this. It's just almost impossible with the way things are. So like it's deep implications. Like, even I was going through our credit card statement yesterday with Tamara, and I was like, Tamara, 3 days ago, and I'm nothing against Tamara, she didn't do anything wrong. I just mean, this is the cost. It just is. I was like, 3 days ago, you went to Costco and spent $330. Or yesterday, so 2 days apart, you spent $530. I'm like, that's $800 and something dollars. Now, mind you, $150 of that was the membership price. But I was like, we're at like $700.
It's so funny you did that. I literally had this chat
Really?
with Danielle last
That's
night too, because every so often we revisit.
I always do.
And costs are going up of living. Like the thing is that we're blessed that we have good jobs and that we work hard and we try to do our best with investment, but we're at a position where we have to watch. Like it's not just, I have to pay attention. Otherwise
I log into my
things
banking
can go
every
so
day.
quick.
I don't know about you.
No, I used to be like that. I'm about
day.
once a week now.
Yeah.
And I think I might get back to the once a day
because
I just see all these expenses.
gets
It's like,
away.
my goodness, it adds up. And before you know it, it's like we overspent. We actually spent more money than we made this month.
Yeah.
Like we and if you keep doing that. So my point is that we are getting in a position where it is getting more expensive to live. It is getting more.
And most people do spend more than they make. Like it's just unfortunate, but that's the case.
Yeah.
Like I was even having a conversation with a construction worker who's working near my place, and we were just talking about the cost of living, and he was like, I don't make enough money no matter what I do, no matter how many hours I do to put anything away. Nothing. I can't. And I was just like, this is the reality of so many people. Like it just sucks.
There's an interesting, when you said it a couple minutes ago, you reminded me of a quote out of The Big Short movie. Brad Pitt's character does in it, and he's a former Wall Street hedge fund guy, and he talks about how poverty has a cascading effect on everything. But you can actually, and I looked it up and it's a correct number, but the quote essentially says, if we're right, talking about The Big Short, the big housing crash
Brad Pitt in
the
that
US.
movie?
He is, yeah. Small character, but a great
I didn't know
character.
that.
If we're right, people lose homes, people lose jobs, like they're shorting the market. People lose retirement savings, people lose pensions. You know what I hate about banking? He goes, it reduces people to numbers. And here's a number. For every 1% that unemployment goes up, so that's related to your poverty.
Yeah.
For every 1% unemployment goes up, 40,000 people on average die. That's in the U.S. So
is that an accurate quote, or is that just a movie?
I looked it up a bit ago. So Canada will be a little bit different, but the point is, and we can look up the exact. But the point is, when you have issues in a country that persists, right? Now, Ronald Reagan said we're only one. What's this quote? We're only one generation from losing democracy, I believe it is. Yeah. Or freedom. Someone quote me. Write that down in the comments. Gosh,
don't you wish
brain is not firing.
I was gonna say, don't you wish you were like a Bruce Party?
Give me an energy drink,
the way that
somebody.
those guys are like, bam, bam. It's amazing.
Well, you've been on our defense. We've been dealing with a couple super goofy things the last couple of days, so we're walking through a lot in our brains right now. The point of it, though, is that when you are seeing these effects of Canada printing, spending, not having any investment coming into the country, blocking natural resources, east-west divide, when you have talks of separation, when you have talks of all these different issues, different taxes, like, well, we haven't talked about this yet, but the Liberals just said they're going to repeal the DST, the Digital Services Tax, because we're in trade negotiations, trade talks, trade war with the U.S. right now. And they basically said, President Donald Trump said, my point in saying all that is that all that has an effect on Canadian individual lives. Like, let's not get lost.
Take it down to the micro.
Exactly.
level.
Let's not get lost in the sweeping statement of Canadians.
Yeah.
No.
I can pay for a meal for my family at a 7-Eleven and actually feed them all with the worst food you can imagine. And it's more affordable than anything else. If I want quality, man, you are paying top dollar. And so like even right before I came here, I try not to eat out. I try to prep food at home, but if I don't, then I'll try to go through drive-through and get it small, something protein high, just try to something healthy. And so I was going through Tim Hortons and I was like, what can I get here? Everything there was like just basic. And this might sound not crazy to you, but it's like 11 to like 14 to $15. And now you do that a few times a week. It's huge. But you know what was right across the parking lot from me as I looked over?
What's that?
It was Little Caesars, $5 pizza. And I was like, I know that's horrible.
I used to live off Little Caesars
I know
pizza.
it's horrible for me, but I was like
19.
To save $10 right now. Yeah, sounds good.
How have they not increased their price of their pizza in like 20 years? I remember being 17 thinking that's a good deal.
Well, they actually have though. They actually have, but that's like a deal that they have now because their prices are actually now like 9, 11, and 12.
We'll take sponsorship by Little Caesars.
But literally across the big window, $5. And I was like, yeah, to save money, I will eat like crap. But like extrapolate that. Oh, you know what I mean? Over like the only way to get to live a healthy, long life is small decisions every day that compound over time, that make healthy choices. Yeah. But when money is the leading driver to bad food, bad decisions consistently over time, can't afford gym memberships, can't afford this, can't afford that. It's like now you have a people who are getting more unhealthy, which means disease increases, which means the weight increases on the social healthcare system, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it just cascades. And so it's like the wealth of the country should be of the highest importance of all of our MPs, all of our premiers, like it. Of all
The
of us.
number one factor.
Yes, the number one
is
factor.
the economic ability to thrive and to grow.
Yeah.
Are we producing more than we're outputting?
One of the comments that I just flew by on the video with Bruce Party there was, how in God's name do we not have enough money with the resources we have available? Yep. Like,
Well, I can tell you,
yes,
bad management.
horrible management. Yeah.
And also,
managerial.
I'm not one, we do believe
Like Bruce
in
said.
taking responsibility. That's why we call the show Citizen, because the citizens
Yeah,
have
like
a
you can't just throw it
responsibility.
at
There's
the-
a
at the members of
collective.
Parliament, yeah.
We also have discussed with Party and others about, is our system of governance showing its cracks and showing its weaknesses where democracy is having problems in the sense.
Yeah.
But again, to quote Conrad Black, he has said, we get the government we deserve. And this is what's fueling a lot of this divide of Albertans and others are saying,
Alberta would
we
say,
don't
no,
want this.
no, we don't. That's
and
what
we're
Alberta
getting
would say.
controlled by a majority of a population that is in a different part of the country that is also slightly culturally different, has got different goals and certain things. So there's a lot of serious issues. And we're not just trying to complain about the cost of things. We like doing a deeper dive because I want to set up my kids, your kids, as you're listening to this, our families, our loved ones. Think of your grandkids. I want them to be able to experience a Canada that is as beautiful as it is from coast to coast, but to be able to live the life and afford to live the life where they actually can go coast to coast,
Absolutely.
where they can go to St. John's and they can go to Tofino and we can go to the Arctic and we can explore and enjoy and still be able to live a life that they produce, where they have good food, they have healthy food, where we can go enjoy our time with families. But that's not a realistic thing right now for a majority of Canadians because there are a lot of issues that are happening in our country. And it's interesting because you have 4 terms in a row of the same government, and it doesn't analyzing how they are choosing to govern. It's just, we got to look at, is that becoming the issue? Because the idea of,
and it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. Both MPs need to,
100%.
everybody needs to look at issues for issues and policy for policy with track record in mind.
Yeah.
Like even I was watching an MP on the CBC today talk about this, and the CBC guy was like going after her saying like, looks like you've crossed the aisle. And she goes, there's no aisle crossing. There's good policy and there's bad policy.
Yeah.
They brought up some great policy and the Conservatives are going to back it because that's what we want for the people. I'm not going to not back good policy. Like, and I was like, man, that's refreshing.
Yeah.
Like, that's so cool. A shout out to Rise of Alberta Instagram page. They're posting these for sale. I think I'm not endorsing the sale, but I want one of these.
Make Alberta great again.
I was like, I saw this hat and I was like, I want one of these hats. I'm going to zoom in on it. I think you guys can. Oh no,
We can see
I'm
it,
not zooming in on it. It didn't work. There you go.
All I can see is the white letters.
There you go.
What's it sitting on?
Make Alberta great again in camouflage.
Just got that.
I just got your joke. That's so funny. Anytime someone wears camouflage, we're always like, what are you standing on? Your pants? We can't see your pants.
Where'd your legs go?
There you go. It's camo. And I didn't catch that apparently. Anyway, I saw those hats and I was like, we got to get those hats. Eh?
Your brain's still firing.
Make Alberta great again.
But yeah, I'm glad you said that because it's the partisan side, because it's not a partisan issue.
Yeah.
It's not being partisan for the sake of being partisan. Like, I hate party politics.
Yeah, that's not country
like,
first, if that's what your opinion is.
Yeah, I like good ideas.
Totally.
Good policy. What is tangibly going to make my life better?
Yeah.
The guy in the street that I pass on McLeod Trail downtown, what's going to make his life better in terms of opportunity, the ability to be able to grow, being able to work hard and get good results, to buy a home that can actually house your family, right? So at some point, everyone has to analyze, what do I want? What kind of country do I want? And how are we going to get there?
Totally.
And are we doing the things right now as a country to get there?
Yeah.
And I think the question of what there is, that is where you have a lot of differences in Canada right now east, west, provincial, federal. Even that, I'm not sure if people saw this, and I'm kind of going to pat myself in the back. So a while ago, I wrote a little bit of it was a fun little article piece about Alberta separation, Donald Trump waiting in the wings, and an alignment to the EU. Just it was more predictive in a sense. But as of last week, June 23rd, is that Canada and the EU announced and unveiled a new EU-Canada strategic partnership of the future. So we know that our government has been moving more towards a greater coalition with the EU when it comes to trade, when it comes to economic security, when it comes to cooperation regarding military, those type of things. The point is to diversify from over-dependence on the U.S.
Yeah.
So it sounds great.
Yeah.
But one of the things we have to analyze, like, let's just not take things at face value. You have to ask yourselves, does the EU, their philosophical differences of how they govern, is that something
we want?
That we want to get closer with and get tighter with? Because there's some things you could argue that the EU actually has an erosion of sovereignty from within each individual country that makes up the EU.
Yep.
Right? And then you look at the US and Donald Trump, and they're going a very nationalist. We want to make a strong nation. We want to make a strong... So my question for the viewers as you guys are watching, what do you think is a better model? The EU style of model or a nationalist style of model, strong nation? And I'm interested to know your comments and your thoughts and why, or have you thought about that? Because this is a big thing from top down in terms of how do we govern. That answers a lot of questions of the direction that we do go, because there's a philosophical clash between the two. Mm-hmm. So, and that's what Alberta's playing with right now. Alberta is anti-EU style of governance.
And that's why Bruce so beautifully and articulately put that together. Is he talked about the philosophical idea of what Canada. He said this actually a couple shows ago. Is that a lot of people, Canada has beliefs that to be a Canadian means to not be American. That's essentially it. He's like, that's pretty much like what it means to be Canadian, which is bizarre, to define yourself by what you're not. But he's right on that. And so, like you're nailing it on the head.
The EU's DNA is built on this idea of post-nationalism.
Yeah.
And former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, remember when he said that? Mm-hmm. We are a post-national state.
Yeah.
And how can you try to create a strong, get this, national identity when you have a group of people, or maybe some Canadians might identify with being post-nationalist, meaning there isn't a strong identity. How do you have a strong identity when you're trying to pull in a bunch of different countries? Like, you look at Europe. If you ever traveled Europe, there's very distinct cultures, and they do maintain a lot of those cultures. But in terms of the governance, there's been some major flaws and issues that have happened for countries as they kind of move to this EU style of governance. So also, I'm concerned about the signal that it's sending to the US and abandoning our long-standing trade ally, trade relationships, military dependency. Like, that's a strong signal to be showing as well. I understand diversification up to a certain point, but I don't think we've actually answered the questions well enough as to what do we want as Canadians.
Yeah.
Maybe we have, and maybe this is the fire that's starting to get under people's butts for. I'm not kind of down with that style. So
we have a few minutes left. We should talk about the digital service tax and the fact that it was there, what it is, and how quickly it got pulled. Do you have the details on that?
Let's start off with the backstory a bit. So if you guys were following this, Prime Minister repealed the DST tax, a digital service tax, as of last week. I believe it was like June 30th, give or take, or actually might have been earlier this week. Actually last week. And essentially what it was a 3% tax on basically major tech companies that have some sort of operation digitally into Canada, Amazon, Meta, Google, etc., that they would have to pay 3%, I believe, on revenues. This was brought through not from Mark Carney's administration, his government, to it was Justin Trudeau's, I think, in 2024, would have been retroactive to 2022 for payments in terms of the amount of revenues.
Yep.
And the first actual payment was due a couple days ago.
Yes, last week.
And President Trump, as we know, he has been throwing tariffs around and trying to redo the world trade system, essentially. as each country, they talk about different tariffs. And he said, did you see this tweet? Canada is very tough to deal with. And basically the paraphrase version is we are not enjoying dealing with them. It's just an issue. So we are ceasing negotiations with Canada, and we are going to announce next week what their new tariffs are because of the stupid DST tax. That's essentially what he said. Paulie will throw it up on stage here on the show, on the screen, just to show us what exactly he said.
Yep.
But within, I want to say 24 hours, the Canadian government decided to elbows down it, some people might say, and basically say, okay, we're repealing it, stopping it.
So does that mean it's stopped for the Canadian companies as well?
Pardon?
Is the DST stopped for Canadian companies as well? Because that was the part that was...
is it on? I don't know if it's on Canadian
So the
companies.
DST was for companies that were earning over 20 million, who were earning global earnings outside of Canadian. And also people who were earning it on Canadian. So if Canadians were consuming content, they were earning revenue off that they wanted to claim tax on that. So the DST was to Canadian companies and also to level the playing field for anyone who's outside of it. At least that's how I understand it. So I'm curious, is it lifted for Canadian companies as well?
I didn't even,
US?
We should find out. If you know in the comments,
look it
or let us know in the comments if you know. We need to find out if that is being applied to it. But Donald Trump basically called it an attack on U.S. tech. And so that was an issue. They repealed it, and they're going to be looking for a broader way to make it work. So
yes, lifted for both Canadian and foreign companies, not just U.S. tech.
I don't know where I'm not trying to be critical at all. Maybe I think it's good. You want to keep good negotiations with Trump. I've always been saying this. We're not in a strong position to negotiate.
No, obviously,
it's tough.
The bending of the knee so quickly
100%.
shows that.
Yeah,
It shows.
It's a tough position to be in. Whenever you're negotiating from a place of weakness, and someone else knows you're weak, the leverage is against you.
Trump, man, is he busy? Like, as in the last minute we got here, look at this. I sent this to you guys. I don't know if you saw it. I'm so curious. What coffee does Trump drink to have the energy he's got? In the past 24 hours, Trump, this is from someone's X, has threatened Elon Musk, Thomas Massey, Japan, a judge in Israel, the CEO at AT&T, Jeremy Powell, Canada, Thomas Tillis, and Forbes reporter, Harvard, and migrants with being eaten by Burmese pythons in the Everglades while releasing a new line of cologne.
Releasing a new line of Trump cologne?
That's what I mean. I'm like, what? Like, how does he have the energy, man? Like, it just blows my mind. It's the funniest thing ever. Anyway,
you know what?
I thought that was pretty brilliant.
I don't know. There are some things I'm a little skeptical of in terms
100%.
of the business side of what's going on, and are
weird.
you having cronyism follow into that? Like, like I joked a while ago about his son saying, "Hey, Dad, can you just say something about massive tariffs coming on the market?"
And then just
they're
buy
ready
some
to short the
stocks.
market, and all right, Dad, tariffs are off, and then back and forth. Anyways,
Anyway, thank you guys for joining today. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow us. Also, go check out Bruce's episode. Jump in the comments. We want to agree and disagree.
see you next time.
The show goes on.